What's up YouTube, Matthew here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to do the perfect follow-up sequence for your wholesaling business. Now before we go on, be sure to like this video, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on post notification bell. Be sure to smash the like button, comment down below on what you do to follow up with your sellers in your wholesaling business. And also subscribe to this channel for some more awesome real estate wholesaling entrepreneurship videos to come. Now, how do I do my follow-ups and how are they different than other wholesalers? So as you all know, I don't have like a huge team. I don't have a bunch of people working with me. So all of my follow-ups are actually done just on an Excel sheet. And so first I want to give you an example from a real life wholesale deal on how I followed up with the seller and what I did on my Excel sheet to be able to follow up with them in a successful way. So number one, I got this lead back in September of 2019 and I ended up closing on this deal in February of 2020. So that's a good, like 4 or 5 months, almost 6 months. And with this deal, it was done through direct mail. So I sent the seller a direct mail piece. He contacted me, just inquiring, interested. I didn't get much motivation, so I just put him on a monthly follow-up sequence. So with my leads, I gauge their level of motivation. If they're not that interested, but they still reached out to me, or I reached out to them and they said they weren't ready at the moment and they didn't give me a definite no, I automatically put them on a monthly follow-up sequence. So between 4 to 6 weeks, depending on their level of motivation, of course. And with that, I basically have an Excel sheet and I have different tabs. So the first tab just says 1 month follow-up. So those are my leads that I follow up on a monthly basis. And I usually follow up with them at the end of each month. And so I have their name, the property address, and then a date and what we talked about or what we discussed during that day. Okay. So for example, with this lead, first time I contacted him, put him up in my follow-up sequence and put his name, the address, the phone number, and I just commented, okay, seller called me back. He's not that interested. He said sometime maybe next year. And then I'll just put something simple like that, call next month. And then if he goes into details with the property, like the repairs and updates needed, of course I would put that in the tab also. So, well, in the cell, not the tab. And so with this particular property, you know, we started actually communicating through text because it's just more convenient, and he seemed like he liked text a lot better. So we went through the whole holiday. So I was sending him Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's text, and just checking up, simple text like, hey, how's it going, Mr. Seller? Want to get an update on the property. How's that process going? What are your options? Have you went with a realtor? And different things like that. And then in January, he calls me like early mid-January. He says, hey, I actually have another offer on the property, but you've been consistent and persistent with following up with me, and I just wanted to know what you had to offer. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, I kind of thought this was a dead league. Like every month I was all like, why am I sending this guy a text? But the power of follow-up is so powerful, you all. So make sure you all implement that into your business. And I was actually able to offer him a higher price without commission fees because he was selling it to an investor, but the investor was with a realtor and all that jazz. And so I was able to get paid. I was able to wholesale it to a great buyer, and I gave the seller a little bit more money and just developed that relationship with the seller, built rapport. And yeah, so that's basically how I do my follow-up sequence. Now on my Excel sheet, I have tabs. So I have 1 month follow-ups, I have weekly follow-ups, and then I have like daily or more urgent follow-ups that I follow up with. And so I just put them in the different tabs. And so I have a column for name, a column for address, a column for a phone number, and then a column with the date that I contacted them and what we talked about, or more information about the property, rent rates, or different repairs or updates needed. And so that's basically what I do. And as you all know, most of your deals will come from follow-up, right? You won't get those deals that, oh, once they call you, they're motivated and things like that. You know, some follow-ups may take like 5 months, like that deal did. Some may take 2 months, some may take a month. I've noticed that I think I average around probably close to 2 months until I actually get a deal from the first contact to closing and getting paid in the bank. Some of them were faster. My first deal took like from the time we closed, signed the contract till closing, that was like a month. The second deal was really fast actually. It was like 10 days in total. Third deal, it was just 5 months, and then other deals, it's like 2 months. This other deal was like 4 months, and I think this other deal that I'm working on that I should be closing on Tuesday, so stay tuned. I was sending direct mail, but they haven't contacted me until last month, so it was probably a month. So it can range. It just depends on the seller and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish in their life and with their property. I'll make another video like breaking down like an Excel sheet to show you all exactly how I do it, because especially in the beginning, it's probably very hard for you to get a CRM system and just learn that process and whatnot. And it's probably not required, in your beginning stages if you don't have a team. If you're doing everything on yourself, like why should you have a CRM system? And so I currently don't have one, and I know it will be beneficial for you all. Yeah, so that was an example of a wholesale deal where I followed up 4 months and whatnot. But now I want to tell you the techniques and advice on how to follow up, what to say on your follow-up sequence. So the number one thing in this business is about building rapport, building relationships. So when you contact the person, you try to build as much rapport as you can, gather as much information as you can, learn more about the person, the family, their background, if they're religious or not, their family, and different things like that. And you want to bring that up over time while you're following up with them. So if they talked about, that their daughter or son is graduating from high school, you can bring that up on your next follow-up. And you can just keep it simple, straight to that. Like some follow-ups, I don't say anything about the house. All I say is like, hey, how did the graduation go? Happy birthday, Merry Christmas, and that's it, right? Just to say, hey, I'm still there, I'm still listening. So what you have, it's like a chain, right? You got to keep the chain. You got to connect a new link to the chain, right? And so you got to build off of the previous chain, right? And so you have to understand, okay, what did we talk about last time? Let me reiterate what we talked about so they know, hey, I was listening, I'm here for you, and I understand you. And you build on that to, create more affinity and be more likable. Another thing with follow-up is the mode to follow up, right? So let's say, for example, the deal I was talking about, I first initially contacted them through a direct mail piece, right? But we're not sending letters back and forth on the follow-up, right? And so what are you going to do next? Are you calling? Are you emailing? Are you on Facebook Messenger? Are you texting? What are you doing? You have to know what does the seller like to do, and you go according to their preference. So for example, with the deal I had, I called him at first, we talked on the phone, but it was text afterwards until he was actually ready to sell. And so I think going to their preference is very important, and not being overbearing to them. Another thing with follow-up is the time that you know that they will respond. So even though you have a monthly follow-up, a weekly follow-up, a daily follow-up, you have to know, okay, what times do they really respond to you? For example, I'm following up with this probate lead, and for some reason, I always been contacting them through around between 12 and 2 p.m. It's just the time. They're very responsive. They answer the phones. They're quick on the text messaging. But like if I went like a different time, like 7 p.m. at night, would I be as effective? Probably not. And this other lead that I was dealing with, I always had to contact him later at night, actually around 8 o'clock, but it's just simple text. And because he works during the day, he's very busy. You know, he works at a retail store like a sales manager, and they're like open from like 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night because it's a regular store. And so that's the time when he's available. You know, why would I be texting him during the day if I know he's working? So when you're following up with people, those are some of the things that I learned in my follow-up sequence. So number one, just gauge their level of motivation. Are they a weekly follow-up, a monthly follow-up, a daily follow-up, a every 7 weeks follow-up, a every 2-month follow-up? Know their level of motivation to know when to follow up with them. And then number two is the means and the mode to follow up with them. Is it through text? Is it through calls? Is it through Facebook Messenger? Just what do they prefer, and do whatever they prefer. And then the time. What time do they like to be followed up by? You know, is it in the morning, super early, 4 a.m. in the morning? Is it super late at night? It all depends on the seller themselves. And just remember, build rapport. Even if it's through text, you can try to build rapport. You can still use sales and negotiation and try to use it as much as you can through text, which is harder. It is harder than over the phone or in person, but still try to show your personality through follow-up, through texting and different things like that. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, all that jazz. All right, talk to you all later.